Gertrude in London, good afternoon.
I am certainly going to be watching it.
Brilliant.
And I'm glad I got on because I am so fed up with everybody bashing Meghan. She's a very, very clever woman. And she has been cooking since she was 11. Her mother was helping out in soup kitchens, and Meghan went with her.
Mm-hmm.
And they were cooking. And Meghan had also, before she was anybody, done voluntary work in 3 African countries, also cooking and doing all sorts of things.
No, I'm glad you said that.
When Grenfell fire happened, Meghan went down there and cooked with everybody. And Sadiq Khan was on LBC 2 years later. And he said, you've just been down there. And they were still talking about how she just mocked in.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember. Listen, thanks, Gertrude. That's a very good corrective. Hang on. I want to get Sharon in before we run out of time. Sharon in London. You pro this as well?
I am pro this, and I will be watching, and I will be supporting Meghan. I think that what we need to remember is that Meghan hasn't changed. Everybody else around her, including you in your program, has changed. You are very negative towards her, and I think that there are racial undertones regarding this. Before she married Prince Harry, she had a lifestyle blog called The Tig, and so. Actually, what she's doing is she's returning to what she knows and what she's done best. And the TIG had a following of 3 million.
Right.
3 million
it's whether or not... Michael's point is you can't be lectured on lifestyle by a billionaire. That's what Michael said.
She's not a billionaire. Okay, and furthermore,
by a multi-millionaire.
Furthermore, she look where she came from. She has worked her way to the top, and she knows how to cook.
Andrew, Sharon, why don't you let somebody else speak? Hang on.
They weren't ready for Gertrude. They weren't ready for Sharon. But baby, they called anyway, and they came with fire. On the Jeremy Vine show, of all places, in the middle of the usual primetime circus act where Meghan Markle is typically the punching bag of the day, 2 women said, "Not today, Jeremy, not on my watch." Gertrude called in like the voice of a collective exhaustion, tired, passionate, unfiltered. "I'm sick of people bashing Meghan," she said, her voice firm and unshaken. She didn't come to debate, she came to defend, and the way she said it, you could feel it. This wasn't just about Meghan. It was about every woman who's ever been picked apart, lied on, scapegoated, and told to smile through it. And let's be real, Gertrude didn't need a studio, a panel of paid Meghan haters, or a tabloid paycheck to validate her point. All she needed was a phone line and the truth. Because when she said she was tired of the unfair coverage, the smear campaigns, the obsession with Meghan's every breath, eyebrow raise, or jam jar, millions of us felt that in our soul. Then came Sharon, calm, clear, devastating. She didn't raise her voice, but every word cut like a diamond. Sharon said the quiet part out loud. People are just jealous. You can't stand to see a woman of color, intelligent, beautiful, and independent in that royal family. Whew! She cleared the entire studio with that one sentence. Let's pause right there, because Sharon nailed it. That's the truth so many of these pundits have been dancing around for years. All the nonsense about protocol, hierarchy, and how things are done. That's just polite wrapping paper for a much uglier reality. The double standards, the coded language, the obsession with dragging Meghan's name through the mud while handing out halos to others for doing exactly the same things, sometimes worse. These 2 women didn't just defend Meghan. They dragged the entire broken media narrative into the daylight. No notes, no fluff, just facts. And watching Jeremy Vine's reaction? Classic. That man was shook. You could hear it in the awkward pauses, the stammering attempts to redirect the conversation. Because this very show, has spent years giving airtime to Meghan bashers like they're experts in constitutional law. Meanwhile, Gertrude and Sharon called in with nothing but their voices, their lived experience, and the audacity to tell the truth. And they won. Let me remind you, this wasn't an isolated moment. This is a symptom of the tidal wave that's been building for a while now. People are waking up. The public is seeing through the spin. They're sick of the same panel of angry men and pearl-clutching women screaming that Meghan is a manipulator, a diva, or a destroyer of tradition, while ignoring the fact that tradition in that family has included silencing women, protecting predators, and sweeping real scandals under the rug. And yes, the same Meghan they demonize for hugging victims of Grenfell Tower, for holding her husband's hand, for choosing not to subject her children to a toxic monarchy, is the same Meghan who's building a legacy with Prince Harry far away from the institution that couldn't protect her. Gertrude and Sharon spoke for all of us who've had enough. For Black women who are constantly told they're too loud, too strong, too emotional, unless they're silent and suffering. For mothers who saw the trauma in Meghan's eyes and recognized it instantly. For women everywhere who've had to work twice as hard just to be called half as good. And can we just take a moment to appreciate that these women called in, live on national TV, to go against the grain? That takes guts. It's easy to join the anti-Meghan pile-on. It's easy to repeat what the tabloids say. But it takes courage to speak out in a space designed to silence you. That's what Gertrude and Sharon did. They broke through the noise. You know what's funny? Every time Meghan supporters speak truth, the British media acts like they've been ambushed. Like, how dare anyone defend her without a blue check or a peerage? But that's the beauty of it. Gertrude and Sharon don't need titles. They have something better: clarity, authenticity, backbone. And their defense wasn't just about Meghan either. It was about the truth. The same truth Professor Tim Wilson has been shouting from his YouTube tower. The same truth people like Notorious JBT have clapped back with on TikTok. The same truth that terrifies these tabloids more than anything: Meghan didn't fail the monarchy. The monarchy failed her. Every moment she was told to be 50% less, to be quiet, to be grateful for abuse masquerading as public duty, was another moment the system showed us its rotten core. And instead of collapsing under that weight, Meghan stood up. She walked away. And she's thriving. So when Gertrude said she was sick of the bullying, she was naming something deep. Because it's not just bullying, it's institutionalized character assassination. And when Sharon said people are jealous, she was pointing to the root of it. They can't stand the idea that Meghan didn't need them, that she didn't beg to stay, that she and Harry walked into the unknown and built something new. And what's even more delicious? Gertrude and Sharon didn't just clap back, they reset the whole tone of the conversation. You could feel the discomfort on that panel when real voices, real frustration, and real truth broke through their curated bubble of bias. Suddenly it wasn't about Meghan being difficult or too much. It was about why those labels even exist in the first place. And when ordinary women take control of the narrative like that, that's power the tabloids can't Photoshop, edit, or twist. Because let's be honest, the Royal Rota can push their spin, the Daily Mail can scream their dog whistles, and the Jeremy Vine Show can line up every tired talking head they want. But they still can't compete with the raw authenticity of people who have nothing to gain and everything to say. Gertrude and Sharon weren't selling books or chasing clout. They were reclaiming dignity, not just for Meghan, but for every woman who's ever had her humanity stripped for the sake of a headline. So yes, this was bigger than a phone call. This was a mic drop on live TV, a cultural shift wrapped in two voices the establishment didn't see coming. They rattled the script. They reminded the world that public opinion isn't owned by broadcasters or dictated by tabloids. And next time the media tries to spin a hit piece or shove Meghan into a villain box, they better pause, because the Gertrudes and Sharons of this world are listening, and they're not staying silent anymore. And let me say this loud for the people in the back. The tide is turning. You can't silence the Gertrudes and Sharons of this world anymore. The platforms have changed. The power dynamics have shifted. And the truth always finds a mic. If anything, this moment on the Jeremy Vine Show proves that the public is not as brainwashed as the media wants us to believe. We see through the spin. We know when a woman is being torn down simply for refusing to play a toxic game. And we're not here for it anymore. So to Gertrude and Sharon, thank you. Thank you for reminding everyone that courage doesn't need a title, truth doesn't need a PR machine, and justice doesn't come from the press. It comes from the people. And to anyone watching who still thinks it's trendy to drag Meghan, consider this your warning. The narrative is shifting, the voices are rising, and the defenders, oh, they're just getting started. Subscribe if you're tired of the spin, the slander, and the shady headlines. Subscribe if you believe in justice, in calling out hypocrisy, and in uplifting the truth. Because over here, we don't bow to the crown. We speak to the truth behind it. And baby, the truth just called in twice.